What's going on, everyone? This is my official review for Batman Arkham Knight. After playing the game for almost 2 weeks now, I think it's time to talk about my overall thoughts when it comes to the entire game. Within this review, I'm gonna be talking about everything I like and everything I'm disappointed with when it comes to the full game. Now, there's two things that won't be affecting my review, but I will be talking about within this video. The first thing is the Batmobile controversy over whether or not the Batmobile is overused within the main story. The second thing is the PC performance that Arkham Knight had when it first released. Those two things will not affect my review, but I will indeed be talking about them here today. So let's start off with the Batmobile controversy. I know a lot of people have very mixed feelings when it comes to the Batmobile. Some people think that it was completely overused within the main story, while other people think it fit very well with the entire game. Now, if someone came up to me and asked me, is the Batmobile overused within Arkham Knight? My honest answer would be yes and no. The reason I say that is because I don't think the Batmobile was overused, since, just as Rocksteady said before, you can't be the Batman without having the ability to drive the Batmobile. So I think it was definitely a big part of this game to be able to drive it, and I also think that since Arkham Knight was the epic finale to the Arkham series, I think it was great and beneficial to be able to drive the Batmobile, since it's definitely been a highly requested feature ever since Arkham Asylum. Now, the reason I would say the Batmobile is overused is because there are certain areas of the game where the Batmobile really doesn't belong, and I also feel that the Batmobile shouldn't have been the quote-unquote boss battle with some of our enemies. I really don't think that that was the right move by Rocksteady. So what I mean by that is I really didn't like the fact that the Scarecrow nightmares were pretty much replaced with Batmobile challenges, and I also didn't like the fact that we didn't have boss battles within this game, but when we kind of did at certain points with the Arkham Knight, you were using the Batmobile the whole time, you know, and I just thought that was a little disappointing. And that's where you could consider the Batmobile overused. You know, why couldn't we just have a fist fight with the Arkham Knight or a fist fight with Deathstroke? Why did the Batmobile have to be used as your defense against these enemies? I just didn't like that at all, but that also leads me into one of my disappointments, which I'll talk about later regarding boss battles, but that's my honest opinion on the Batmobile. I just really think that the Batmobile overall was a pretty big necessity in order for Batman to face some of his obstacles within the main game. And I love the fact that Rocksteady listened to our feedback when it comes to our highly requested features within the game and within the series overall. So I think it was a good move by Rocksteady to incorporate the Batmobile, but I also thought they made a few mistakes when it comes to how they incorporated it. That's just my opinion on it, but let me know in the comments what you guys think. But next up, we have the PC performance issues. Now, I'm not gonna let this or the Batmobile situation affect my review, as I said, but I still think that this was very shady on Rocksteady's part. I don't think it was fair for a different development team to handle the PC port when we were told that Rocksteady was solely developing Arkham Knight for next gen and PC. We never ever got an announcement that a separate development team was handling the PC port. And what do you know? The same PC development team that handled the port for Arkham Origins also worked on the port for Arkham Knight. And we already know that the port for Arkham Origins was a buggy mess. So I think it was inexcusable for Arkham Knight to also be a buggy mess. The game got delayed by almost a year, and it got delayed I think 2 or 3 times. So I'm really not understanding why Arkham Knight for the PC wasn't ever looked at or wasn't ever looked upon to see if there were any bugs, and it was just released anyway. I just don't understand that. I think that's just pure corruption, and I think that it was very shady for Rocksteady not to come out and say, okay, we have a separate development team handling the PC port, so when the game comes out and there's issues, let them know, don't complain to us. But what do you know? The game releases and we all think that Rocksteady handled the PC port when really they didn't. When in my opinion, they could have handled a PC port and done a far better job just overall. So that's my opinion on that PC situation. But let's jump into my biggest likes with Arkham Knight. First off, we have the massive city that Arkham Knight offers. The city within this game is considered to be 5 times larger than Arkham City, which I think is absolutely insane. I also like the fact that we're able to explore other areas of Gotham which weren't accessible within Arkham City or Arkham Origins. So honestly, I think it was great to be able to explore every area of Gotham between the entire Arkham series. You know, we of course had a pretty restrictive area within Arkham City. We kind of went beyond that just a little bit within Arkham Origins, but within Arkham Knight, we go all out, and it's just massive. You know, it's a great city, it looks gorgeous, and I think Rocksteady did a very good job with implementing such a big city. But next up we have the great story that Arkham Knight offers. I really think the story within this game was pretty strong. Now, keep in mind that we'll be talking about a lot of spoilers within this review, and one of them being the Arkham Knight's identity. So if you don't want to hear his identity, click off this video now. But obviously within the main story, we learned that the Arkham Knight is Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood. So I think the story behind that was pretty strong. I know a lot of people might have been expecting a completely new character to be the Arkham Knight, or they were expecting someone else, but I thought that even from the start, I was predicting the Arkham Knight would have been Jason Todd, and I ended up being right. I made a few other predictions too, but at least one of them ended up being accurate. And I think the story behind Jason Todd was pretty strong. Rocksteady did a very good job with explaining the transition between Jason Todd being Robin to Jason Todd being the Arkham Knight, and later Jason Todd becoming Red Hood. I think that they just nailed it with that, and I personally felt the story was strong. You know, I enjoyed it. I think it fit very well with the entire Arkham series, and it pretty much answered a lot of our questions that we've been having ever since Arkham Knight was announced. Next up, I have something that is purely my opinion, and I can understand why a lot of people might disagree with this, but I really feel the Joker's death within Arkham City definitely left a positive impact on the Arkham series altogether. What I mean by that is, if Joker hadn't died within Arkham City, I just don't think a character like Scarecrow would have been able to rise to the top and become the center of Batman's problems. I talked about this before. I just think the Joker's death allowed for new storylines to take place that we've never seen before within the Arkham series. The Joker has pretty much been the center villain for all 3 Arkham games so far, so I just think it was unique to be able to see a different villain be the center villain this time, and that's just my opinion. But this leads me into something else I really like about the game, and that is the Joker hallucinations that occur within the main story. So at some point during the story, Batman is injected with fear toxin, and I thought it was really cool to be able to see Batman's greatest fears and be able to understand Batman's greatest regrets. And one of his biggest regrets was not saving the Joker, and I think it was just so funny being able to see Joker still present within the main game, and he still played a part of the main story. He just wasn't physically there. He was mentally there in Batman's mind, but he just wasn't physically there to actually change up any of the story. But it was just so cool still seeing a way that Joker was involved with the game. You know, even though Joker is dead, Rocksteady did a very good job with incorporating his character in a different way, and I just thought that that was just an amazing aspect of this game that I think we've never seen before in any other game when it comes to a major character dying but still returning in some fashion. You know, not just through flashbacks, not just through, you know, simple thoughts. He was literally there for the entire game giving his opinion on what was going on. It was just so funny, and he just played a very interesting role within Arkham Knight. Next up, another thing I really liked was the new suit and all of the new gadgets which we got within the main game. I really enjoyed having the ability to do fear multi-takedowns with the new Batsuit. I think that was a very cool aspect that we've never seen before in the Arkham series. And I also like the new gadget, the voice synthesizer. You know, I've personally never thought about a gadget like that, and I thought it was very unique for Rocksteady to incorporate such a crazy gadget within the game. And I think what's very cool about the Arkham series altogether is the fact that with each new game to release, each game offers new upgrades, a new suit, and a lot of updates that build upon what we had before in the previous Arkham game. And I think Arkham Knight does a very good job with continuing that trend and allowing us to use new features with our Batsuit and new features with some classic gadgets which you may have had in previous Arkham games. So that's just my opinion on the suit and the new gadgets. Next up we have the dual takedowns and dual gameplay in general. So within Arkham Knight, a new feature was added in where you can pretty much play as two characters at once. Let it be Batman and Nightwing, Batman and Catwoman, or maybe Batman and Robin. So my honest opinion on dual gameplay is it's pretty much a highly requested feature that we've always wanted, just minus one thing: multiplayer. I know we've had a pretty interesting multiplayer experience with Arkham Origins. I know I really like multiplayer within Arkham Origins. I think it was very well built and I enjoy the gameplay that is offered within multiplayer in Arkham Origins, but I know a lot of people, including myself, have been asking for multiplayer when it comes to combat, and I think dual gameplay within Arkham Knight is pretty much exactly what we wanted, just without the multiplayer. And I think the excuse that Rocksteady gave, we want you to be the Batman, I think that's not a strong enough excuse. I think dual gameplay could have been just extraordinary, could have been insane, but hey, you know, I still think it's a great feature, and I think it's a lot of fun to be able to max your combos and just be insane with two characters at once. So overall, it's a great feature. It would have been a lot better if multiplayer was incorporated with dual gameplay, but in the end, it's a great feature. I love it, and I think it can also be included with some future challenge maps that may come out as DLC. So those are my thoughts on the dual gameplay. Next up, the long story that this game offers is insane. When I first bought this game, on release, I went to the midnight launch of Arkham Knight at GameStop. I came home at around, I would say 12:30 a.m. and I put the game in and I consecutively played the story mode all the way until I finished it at around 2 p.m. So that's around, I would say, 13 to 14 hours. And playing it again on New Game Plus, I finished it in around, I'd say, 9 to 10 hours, but I can say that's because there were like 2 or 3 parts I got stuck at when I first played it, but I ended up getting past it. So the game is a long story, and that's not counting the side missions, the Riddler trophies, all that extra good stuff. So this game is worth the value. I think the game definitely has a lot of value, and it's worth the money overall. You know, I think Arkham City had a pretty long story too, but it wasn't as long as it could have been. I think it could have been a little longer. So I think the length of this game is great. You know, it keeps you going for a while, and I think what's pretty cool is you don't actually activate the main full ending until you complete at least, I believe it is 7 side missions, and then you get like another alternate ending if you complete the game 100%. So there's a lot to do within this game, and that's what I like the most. Being able to go back and do things that you didn't do before, and having the ability to explore other side missions or other areas of the city, you know, that's just great. And I think that was just an amazing aspect that Rocksteady incorporated overall. But getting close to the end here of my list for what I like the most, I thought what was cool was the closure that we got with a lot of villains, and also the introduction to a couple of new ones. So I like the closure we got with Penguin, with Two-Face. I like the closure we kind of got with Firefly as well. You know, we haven't seen Firefly within the Arkham series, except for when he first came out within Arkham Origins, but before that, he never appeared. We knew about his character bio within Arkham Asylum, but he never appeared as a boss. And I think when we first saw him in Arkham Origins, a lot of people, including myself, were thinking, why hasn't Rocksteady played around with this character yet? They gotta incorporate Firefly within their Arkham games. And I was very happy that Firefly at least got a pretty fun side mission within the game. Even though it required the use of the Batmobile the whole time, I still enjoyed it. I thought it was a great side mission. It was great to see his return. And I also enjoyed the introduction to some new villains, such as Man-Bat, which is definitely a highly requested villain that we've been talking about ever since Arkham City. And we also got to see Professor Pig, which I didn't expect at all to appear in this game, but somehow Rocksteady just incorporated his character into a side mission, and I think it went very well overall with the main game. I really enjoyed it. And last but not least, one of the main things I like the most about this game is the unique DLC that we got. I think the Harley Quinn and Red Hood story packs were extremely fun. I don't like the length of the little stories we got. They could have been a lot longer, but I thought it was a lot of fun being able to play as Red Hood, kick some ass with our pistols, and I thought it was really unique to be able to play as Harley Quinn. You know, I've never expected to play as her at all within the Arkham series, and Rocksteady made that available within this game, and I thought that was great. Now, I also think the Scarecrow Nightmare missions were a lot of fun, but as I've said before, it shouldn't have only been Batmobile challenges. It should have also incorporated those classic nightmares that we all know and love, but I have kind of mixed feelings on the unique DLC that we got. I still like it a lot, but this leads me into some of my disappointments. And my first disappointments that I had with the DLC is that they're way too short. I mean, at least if it was half an hour or 45 minutes for each story, that would have been totally worth it. But the fact that they were only like 12 to 15 minutes each, and they didn't even feature their own challenge maps to go along with Red Hood or to go along with Harley Quinn. So there was no replayability with those two characters, which I had a problem with. And I think that even leads me into another disappointment. There's no challenge maps in this game. We only have the AR challenges, and I think that could have been a good replacement for the classic challenge mode if they would have incorporated many more challenge maps for Combat and Predator, and if they would have allowed for different characters to be used within those AR challenges. Think about this. We're able to play as Batman, Robin, Nightwing, Harley Quinn, Red Hood, and Azrael. Those are 6 characters right off the bat that we can play as. And that's not including Batgirl, which we can eventually play as too in the future DLC pack. So you're telling us that you're not going to allow us to play as the other 5 characters that are available? You know, I understand the tagline with this game is to be the Batman, and I think that's great. I think that's been the tagline pretty much for every Arkham game, even though it wasn't given the promotion as it was with this game. But I still think overall we should be able to play as the characters that we purchased. And I think the fact that the mini story modes that were given with Harley Quinn and Red Hood, the fact that they were only 12 to 15 minutes, where's the replayability? There is none, and I think that's disappointing. I also think that with the dual play, I like how they incorporated at least one dual play challenge map with Nightwing, but they could have done a whole lot more. They could have done it where you can choose any map you want, and you can choose any 2 characters you want to incorporate dual play, or you could play the map solo. You know, that would have been a great option with each challenge map, but unfortunately we don't have that, and I think that's very unfortunate because we can also incorporate dual play with the Predator mode. So they could have done a whole lot more with the AR challenge mode, and it could have been a great replacement and a great upgrade upon the original challenge mode that we had in the previous Arkham games. So that's not what I'm understanding. You know, I'm a little confused because Rocksteady had pretty much almost 4 years to develop this game. Arkham City came out in 2011. Arkham Origins came out in 2013, but that was developed by WB Games Montreal. So Rocksteady had plenty of time to plan out a different challenge mode or to incorporate new features, and that's kind of where I'm disappointed. But next up, this is another one that I'm very confused about, and that is boss battles. This game features literally no boss battles, and if you've already played the game and you consider the Batmobile tank battle an actual boss, I don't consider that a boss. I think that was just, you know, a heavily upgraded tank that the Arkham Knight was using against you. I don't consider that a boss battle. I also don't like the fact that Deathstroke was pretty much wasted within this game. Deathstroke makes a slight appearance within this game throughout a side mission where you're pretty much trying to track down the new militia leader after the Arkham Knight fails, and that new militia leader ends up being Deathstroke, which I think right away was great. I'm like, that's a perfect way to incorporate Deathstroke within this game, but then they ruined it. They don't even give us a proper boss battle like we had back in Arkham Origins. Sure, you might not like the boss battle we got within Arkham Origins with Deathstroke, but that was at least something. That was a start for the type of boss battles we could eventually see with him. But within this game, all we get is pretty much a reskin tank and pretty much a copy of the same tank battle we had with the Arkham Knight during the main story. And we have a very similar battle with Deathstroke. So that to me confused me. I was like, why couldn't you do a badass boss battle with Deathstroke? Why? It could have been a perfect opportunity to incorporate new combat features. It could have incorporated new ways to face off against them, you know. They could have done so much. But instead, they do a copy of the Arkham Knight Cloudburst tank battle, and all you do is pretty much take down Deathstroke's tank, and out of nowhere he jumps out of the tank and you hit him once and he's done. That's it. It took one hit to take him down and send him back to the GCPD lockup. That was it. So that's why I was very disappointed with that. I just didn't understand why Rocksteady took that approach. I think boss battles were amazing within the 2 previous Arkham games that Rocksteady developed. I know people might not have liked them. I know there's people out there who didn't like the boss battles at all within Arkham City or Arkham Asylum. I think they were fine. I thought they, you know, even though they weren't the best, they were still, you know, offering new styles of gameplay that you could use to face off against big villains. And it allowed for you to use different strategies to take down certain villains that have particular abilities, like Ra's al Ghul, Mr. Freeze, etc. And that just to me was cool. And as far as why Rocksteady took that out of this game, when this game offers crazy villains, which we could have had some sick-ass boss battles with, Man-Bat, Firefly, the Arkham Knight, the main villain of this game. He is the main villain of this game, right alongside Scarecrow. We didn't even have a proper boss battle, fist to fist with that guy. We had sort of a very small Predator sort of boss battle with him near the end of the game, but that to me wasn't a boss battle. Just using Predator skills to kind of outthink him, that wasn't enough. I wanted a full-on challenging fist fight with that guy, and we didn't get it. I think the side missions with Man-Bat and Firefly, sure, they were fun, but they weren't even boss battles, you know, using different strategies to take them down and using different strategies to overcome their abilities. That just would have been cool, but that's just the approach that Rocksteady took with this game. They could fix that in future DLC, and what I mean by that is we know that the Season Pass will be covering Gotham City stories, which are to be some DLC side missions which feature different villains. So they could incorporate some boss battles with those upcoming missions, and that would be fine, but I'm still a little disappointed that we didn't get to see proper boss battles within this game, and instead they pretty much used the Batmobile as your only defense against the Cloudburst tank, against Deathstroke, and that was disappointing. But coming near the end of my list of disappointments, I wanted to bring up Hush. So Thomas Elliot, aka the Identity Thief, was featured as a side mission within Arkham City. At the end of that side mission, you find out that Thomas Elliot pretty much disguises himself as Bruce Wayne by making his face look pretty much identical. And when that side mission ended, I really felt that that was a big hint towards some big storyline or some big fallout with Wayne Enterprises that would occur in the next game. So when we got the side mission within Arkham Knight that featured Thomas Elliot, I was very disappointed. I thought that Thomas Elliot was going to play a big role within this game. I thought that him being disguised as Bruce Wayne would have caused just major havoc for Wayne Enterprises, to a point where Batman is trying to juggle 2 different problems. We have Scarecrow and then we have the Wayne Enterprises situation. So I guess I could say I got a little too hyped up for Hush's storyline, and I was just really disappointed with the outcome. You know, all that happens in Hush's little side mission is he goes into Wayne Enterprises disguised as Bruce Wayne, and he tries to transfer all of Bruce Wayne's funds to his account because he feels that Bruce Wayne pretty much got handed all of his money to him and he didn't have to work for it. So he then feels that he has to disguise himself as Bruce Wayne, who used to be his childhood friend, and go and transfer all of his money to his account. So that's all that happens. Batman stops him, he helps out Lucius Fox, and that's it. That's pretty much all that happens. I was expecting some big storyline to take place with Thomas Elliot, but I guess that's not the approach that Rocksteady wanted to take with Thomas Elliot's character. And that was pretty much my mistake for getting a little too hyped up for Thomas Elliot's return and expecting a little too much from his role within the story. Now, last but not least, for my list of disappointments, I have the ending of the game. So in my opinion, I feel the ending of Arkham Knight was a little too open and wasn't as straightforward as it should have been. Arkham Knight is considered the epic finale to the Arkham series, at least on Rocksteady's end. So I was expecting a little more closure with Batman's character, but even though Arkham Knight answers a lot of our questions that we've had ever since the end of Arkham City, I still think that the ending of this game alone gives us a lot of new questions to ask, and I personally think I'm going to be making a separate video in the near future talking about all of my theories with the ending of Arkham Knight and the ending of the Nightfall Protocol, but as of right now, it's all up for the community to speculate about exactly what happened. Within the first ending, Batman's identity is leaked to the entire world, which is a major change for Bruce Wayne's life, but within the Nightfall ending, it's speculated that either Bruce Wayne and Alfred sacrificed himself in order for someone else to take up the mantle of Gotham's protector, or they faked their own deaths. But again, I don't want to talk too much about that because it's all up to speculation and it's all up to everyone's theories, so I will be talking about that more in the near future. But as of right now, I am 100% complete with Batman Arkham Knight, and I'm very satisfied with the game. To wrap things up, I would give this game a solid 9 out of 10. I was very satisfied with the overall story, not too much the ending though, just because we need a little more clarification with exactly what happened, but I really like the new Batsuit, I love the new gadgets, and I was a big fan of the incorporation of the Joker. Even though he was dead, it was great being able to see his return in the form of a hallucination. But definitely hope you enjoyed. If I was a developer at Rocksteady, I think one thing I would add in would be the incorporation of the Batcave. Even though we've already seen the Batcave within Arkham Origins, I think it would be pretty cool to see what the Batcave looks like from Rocksteady's point of view. I think that would have been pretty cool, but maybe in the near future, with some upcoming DLC, we can see what the Batcave looks like. But thanks for watching, everyone. Definitely hope you've enjoyed my official review for Batman Arkham Knight. I talked about everything I like, everything I'm disappointed with, and what I would do if I were a developer at Rocksteady. Hope you enjoyed, everyone, and peace out, YouTube.
Enter his home, refusing to...
This is how it happened. This is how the Batman died. A friend once told me that criminals are a cowardly and superstitious lot. That the only way to beat them was to give them something to be scared of. I understand now. As his world grew darker, so did ours. When his war ended, our lives could begin again. He set us free to live, to love. There was an inquest, of course. Hundreds of suspects. Who killed Bruce Wayne? I guess we'll never know for sure. So what's next? Criminals are a cowardly and superstitious lot. What happens when they have nothing to be scared of? Who will protect Gotham now that the Batman is dead? Hey. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Help me!
No one's coming, lady. take his wallet. Hey, freak! Maybe you missed the news! Batman's dead!
That look don't scare us no more.
What the hell?
Go.